Welcome back, West Coast Unplugged. My name's Bo Daniel.
This is Cole Daniel.
Welcome back, you guys. We got a banger night for you tonight. Saturday night, me and my son Cole get together, and we inform the people out there, and I inform him. He gives me his opinion on what we talk about, and we've covered quite a bit of different things. Flock cameras, right, Cole? The AI takeover. We've got a couple up on our YouTube channel. You can check out our previous ones. And so tonight, number 4, we're going to go, Cole, with boomers versus vapors. That's Gen X versus Gen Z. So we'll just start with this topic here. And I was starting to think about it, two different generations, right? And how people get their information today and how they used to get it. And most people I knew back in the day, we didn't have social media. You didn't have, it was newspapers, books, and, social get-togethers, is how you kind of learned, right? It wasn't scroll through your phone, hit X, hit YouTube, hit, all these Instagram, all these outlets, Facebook, they put news up on Facebook now and all that shit. So, people kind of, it's more of a worldwide news versus, they do have community, websites you can check on pretty quickly, and it's informative and it's in real time. It's really good. But I started to think about it, and I was thinking about when we didn't have it, and I was watching this podcast and it made me think about it. And it was, reading books. I've read probably over 1,000 books, and a lot of biographies and a lot of different things. But back in the day, they would write these books that were way before their time, and they would write these books. It was like you got to figure 1900s, right? And I started thinking about some of these people they still talk about today. You'll see it on YouTube and stuff. And like some of these people you don't really like, you know how you recognize a name because you hear it so much, but you never really know what the person did. The subject, but you don't really know exactly what this guy was about because you weren't from that time.
Yeah.
I kind of had this feeling about this, right? And I was just like, okay, I've heard George Orwell. Everybody, would say Orwell, or they called it Orwellianism or whatever the fuck it was, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, this guy, if I remember right, that guy was kind of like a smart writer, or, he was a prolific writer, wasn't a Mark Twain type dude or some shit, right? I just, wasn't that interested, never did a deep dive into it. So anyways, I kept hearing this word, how do you say it, called totalitarianism?
Yep.
And, it's like, you hear this on the news, you hear it in social media, you hear people ranting and raving, and they're saying it, and it's kind of like, I just assumed it was communism, right? And I thought, well, they're not saying communism, so I looked it up. And anyways, lo and behold, this book comes up. Now, if you guys can't, if that's backwards, it's George Orwell, 1984. And so when I heard about this guy, I thought, oh, okay. The guy was explaining that, that's 1984. That's the book. I'm thinking, I don't remember hearing no book about 1984, And so, Cole, do you remember when they used to put a date, they used to put a date out there, and it was, 1999 was the big fall of the, new millennial, right? Or new millennium, 2000, right? It was always like a doomsday year that something bad was going to happen.
Right. I don't know much, but I know about it. Yeah.
It came out with movies like 2001 Space Odyssey or some stupid shit. That, I don't know. That movie seems stupid as shit to me. I never watched it, but a lot of people did, and they took it seriously.
The 2012, that's the one that's like pretty good. 2012.
Same shit, right? They put a doomsday. They'll put a doomsday out there, 25 years ahead of time, right? It's like the Terminator, stuff like that, right? And it makes you think of the future and where we're headed. So when I seen this, guy talking about it, and he was talking about that totalitarianism, I go, oh, okay. So I went on Amazon. You get the book for $9, and I was like, okay. But what I forgot about was the book he wrote before it. It was called Animal Farm, Cole. And Animal Farm, I remember that book being around, being very common when I was a teenager. They taught it in the schools, and it was designed in a way. This guy wrote this book about the Russian Revolution, but he used animals instead of people to get you to understand. You could instead of using different races, he was using animals, right? I believe that's what it was about, right? And it was a creative way of explaining to people without putting any nationality on blast, right? And so most kids, I don't know. Mom said she remembers the book, but she don't remember being taught it. And I think they might have stopped teaching it. But I talked to your sister, and she said she definitely did them both in school. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. So I looked into this George Orwell guy, and I just did a brief background on him. This guy was born in 1903. I think it was 1903 in India. And I didn't know India was under British rule back then. They were controlled by the Brits. That's since changed now. But British ran pretty much everybody back in the day, right?
Yeah, I think there's even conspiracies that they still run the country today. The United States.
Right.
Like they never got freedom from it. Yeah.
Yeah, British Petroleum. That's Iranian oil.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that either. There used to be gas stations around that were BP. They were green and yellow. And you still see the fuel trucks today, but I don't see too many gas stations that are BP, but it was British Petroleum, and they went in and they didn't make them. They kind of tricked them into signing over all the oil rights to their country. They didn't know what the fuck they had. They weren't as civilized country as English. English had already kind of, been ripping people off for their oil. And so they seen a crack, and they jumped through it, and they snatched their oil, and they signed it off to them forever. So this war today is still because the British feel like, and then they went on to say that if they're, I don't think they have a prime minister there. They have like a,
dictator? Are there even dictators anymore? It's like supreme leader? Is that what it is?
There's this guy in those Muslim countries like that. They have a leader of the state or the country, and he's actually a religious dude. He overrides the president. He's higher than the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah is higher than the president, I believe. It's like it's like their prophet almost, and he's above the president.
Right. It's like the church.
It's a religion, yeah. It's a religious. They don't have the separation of state and religion, so they have this, prophet dude that overrides the president. So it can be real fucking messy. But I did learn, if you don't play ball with the English, they just send the spooks in, and they kill them and overthrow the country and put somebody else in there that'll play ball. And they get kickbacks and tons of money, and they do their time over there, and then the next guy gets elected, and if he doesn't play ball, he gets thrown out too. So it's been going on, I believe, since for a very long time. But they said it's been a disruption since like 1978, I think, in Iran. But anyways, point being was this George Orwell dude grew up. He fought in the Spanish Civil War. I mean, this dude was around, back when Christ came out of the cave, I mean, this was a long time ago. And he started seeing, the bullshit going on over there, with Russia and Stalin. Stalin was a totalitarian type of leader, right? You would see, when I was young, you would see these pictures, like you'll still see it today, like even in Iran, every house will have a picture of the leader, right? And it's because you have to be for this guy, or they'll throw you in fucking prison or shoot you,
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about it, and I was reading about it, so I looked it up, and I looked up that totalitarianism. And I'm going to change my glasses here right quick, but once I started reading this, I was like, oh, wow. Totalitarianism is a system of government and society in which the state seeks total control over every aspect of public and private life. The term comes from the idea of totality. The regime aims to dominate not just politics and the economy, but also culture, ideology, education, media, religion, family life, and even personal thoughts and behaviors. So
flock cameras.
You've got these flock cameras, right? So I'm going to keep reading because it gets better, right? It really kind of comes to a full circle here.
Data centers.
Right, data centers, core features, single ruling party or leader. Power is centralized in one party or dictator with an official ideology that claims to have all the answers. Dissent is treated as treason or hearsay. Ideological monopoly. The state promotes one all-encompassing worldview. NWO, right? Communism, fascism, and I think this is Juche, and suppresses alternatives. You know, we're kind of getting that a lot today, right? We're kind of starting to see.
The only thing I would say is that, like, we do have the right for, I think it's like, what's the civil right for press? The constitutional right, like free press or something like freedom of speech, right?
Speech.
So, like, you can go out there and protest and speak your mind to the public or to the government, or you protest and you have the ability to. So that's the only thing I could think of that could hang up the totalitarianism thing. But besides that, you're saying if you don't support this guy, you're going into the can. Here we don't have that, but everything else is total. Sounds pretty like a head on the nail with what's going on in today's times.
It gets better. It gets better. Good answer. Let's see. Extensive propaganda and censorship.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah.
Media, arts, education, and information are tightly controlled to shape public opinion and reality itself. Tell me we're not fucking living that today.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, like, yeah, we do have the right to freedom of speech, but you go on these social media platforms, these big platforms, and they could censor you. So it's like they could box you in with censorship where everyone's looking down at their phones. No one's looking at the protesters. If you see a protester nowadays, you're like, what's this guy doing? You tell this guy to go home. You wrap it up.
It gets better.
No one cares.
It gets better, Cole. Surveillance and terror. Widespread monitoring of citizens, secret police, informants, purges, gulags, and concentration camps to eliminate real or perceived enemies.
ICE.
Surveillance and terror.
I wonder, I guess, why would someone want to run a totalitarian country? Would that just be for power and control, I guess? There's got to be a deeper level to that.
And as I keep reading, this gets longer, you guys. I'm not trying to bore you, but you're asking good questions, Cole, because the ones you're asking almost goes to the next paragraph and explains the next move.
Okay, cool.
And then it wraps it all up together. This was worth talking about tonight. So I hope I'm not boring the listeners or whatever. But if you didn't get a chance to look this up, or it's one of those words you think you kind of know what it is, and you never look it up, then you'll never know, right? So I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to look it up just to get a handle on this shit, right?
Yeah, when I was talking on the phone earlier, it's like everyone talks about communism. It's like that's a jokingly word thrown around. At least in my generation, people don't know what a communist is. You just think of Russia and maybe Germany and stuff. But I've heard totalitarianism, but no one. I don't even know what it is. I think a lot of people my age know communism. No one knows what this one is. So it's really interesting to me.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to move on. Control of the economy and society. The state directs the economy, labor, and often private life, e.g. dictating what jobs people have, where they live, or even the family size. That's China.
Yeah.
China's definitely on. Right? Militarism and mobilization. Listen to this one. This is where it gets fucking real creepy. Society is often organized as if in a permanent struggle or war, with mass rallies, youth indoctrination, and cult-like devotion to the leader. So you got these rallies, you got MAGA, you got all this shit, right? I mean, like, you can make the connection, right? In today's time.
This is real time.
Yeah. So
you got a big argument saying this is what's going on.
Right. And like I'll hear like smart people talking about, you hear like Jordan Peterson will use it a lot, right? And he talked about it in Canada already happening, right? They're doing a lot of this shit in Canada, like the UK, right?
Right.
Remember we were talking about the people getting arrested for liking and retweeting offensive tweets.
Yes.
Canada. Same thing with those truckers up there. When they shut it down, they seized their bank accounts and everything. I mean, it was like, this is government control. It's government overreach, right?
Yeah.
So they say it starts in small steps and works its way to complete domination, total control of the system. So it's really wild. Then it goes down, historical context and examples. The concept was popularized in the 20th century to describe extreme 20th century regimes. Stalin's Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, which we know about that one. That one's pretty common, right? Mao's China. Mao was kind of a psychopath. I've never really done too much.
Excuse me.
We learned a little bit about it, but I don't know much about Mao. And then the modern examples often cited included North Korea, the Kim Jong-un dynasty, right? Remember, his brother was going to run for, his stepbrother was going to run for office, and they smoked him at the fucking airport with some poison, I think. Total totalitarianism versus authoritarianism. Authority, I can't even say this fucking name. Authoritarianism.
Authoritism?
Yeah. Authoritism regimes are dictatorial and suppress political opposition, but often allow some private sphere, limited economic freedom, religion, or culture, as long as it doesn't challenge power. Examples, many traditional military dictatorships. Okay, key thinkers. Hold on, let me get down here. In short, totalitarianism is most extreme form of political domination, where everything within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. A paraphrase of Mussolini's doctrine. It has been widely studied because of the immense human suffering it produced in the 20th century, and scholars continue to debate whether the new forms could emerge with modern technologies, surveillance states, digital control, AI. The term is sometimes used loosely in political rhetoric today to criticize any strong government overreach, but in its strict academic sense, it refers to these near total systems of control. So the shit's real. They've already done it in the past.
Hey, and they real quick, Dad, maybe, yeah. You know, it'd be cool. I wonder if we type into Grok, what are things in places like what do American citizens have to protect themselves from totalitarianism?
Well, we have the Constitution, we have lawyers and shit, so it's going to take a while.
The big one, I guess.
When you see Congress is failing us, right, so badly that they won't even pass Voter ID Act, right? So like they're not even, it's not even, you know, a big deal to them. They don't want to do it because, you know, they're getting paid by this guy or paid by that guy, and so it's, the system is failing, you know, because of money and greed, right? And you see it in Congress because what American wouldn't want voter ID, right? It just eliminates all the bullshit, right? You know, it fucks up the cheating program is what it does, so they're not for it. So that Spencer Pratt, mayor of LA, he was fucking running strong second. This dude had it in the bag. You know, this dude, everybody wanted this dude. Everybody, the people, the vibe on the street, everybody's talking about it. There was nobody, and the third person, they said it's the first time the third person jumped to the first person ever. They said it never happened.
Oh, shit. First so it's 1 and 2, and then Bernie somehow made it to the top.
Even the president pointed it out, how bad it was. And so at your local government, the mayor of Los Angeles is, you know, being cheated out of a race. we've seen, shenanigans with the presidency, whether it was Trump, Biden, whoever, even, back in the day, I think they bumped, it was Al Gore at the last minute. So, it's a rigged game. These people are running a crooked game for sure. But I was thinking about that totalitarianism, and I was thinking, this dude wrote this book in 1950 before he died, and this is what he was talking about. The extensive propaganda, the censorship, surveillance, the fear of war, all this stuff he was telling, and this is what, 34 years later, into the future. And so you see these, you see these books and these writers, and you think, wow, this guy really did have a big imagination, or he experienced something that was so horrific that he's seen it, and was able to write it down and put it out there, And so my question to you is, can you read, can you sift through the propaganda on your digital, how do you get your news? How do you get, do you read digital books? What's your take on this?
I think the biggest thing is, like you said, it's like in today's time, no one grabs the paper anymore. You might see an old timer grab the paper, but that's about it. It's all digital phones. It's all social media. Everyone's got an Instagram. Everyone's got a Facebook. Everyone's got a YouTube. Everyone's got a Twitter or an X. If you don't have one, you might have the other. Not everyone, but for the most part. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that they can control freedom of speech on those platforms. That it's shifting away from that, and it's more so it's pushing more isolation, and having a voice on your social media. And then it gets to the point where there's money involved, and they'd rather pay these guys money, because then if they start speaking out, it can mess up their money, right? Because now they're being censored, or no one wants to get censored, right? There's a big fear of getting censored online, and I think that pushes right into the totalitarianism, where, oh, yes, we're protected by all these things, but we're just bypassing that with all this technology and stuff over here. The flock cameras, that surveillance, technology, censorship, all these things are happening that are taking away our rights, and not really taking away our rights, because I guess at the end of the day, we all have free will and it's an option to use these things, but that's just where the world's at. And it's almost like they're bypassing the Constitution, or maybe not the Constitution, but there's ways around it, I guess,
with the propaganda, right? So some of these key things this guy came up with, like they're doing today, right? These flock cameras, they said with that facial recognition, with the license plate reader and all that shit, they can actually predict. They called it thought crime. That was in this book. That dude came up with this thought crime, that they can actually predict with the percentages with AI. If you're, like we were talking about being a convicted felon, anything like they can profile you and actually take your data from your phone, from your computer, what you look at, where you spend your money, where you swipe your card, everything, and they can predict a thought crime, right? This guy's thinking about doing something fucked up. I mean, this guy wrote that in this book, Thought Crime, right? This is in 1950 of a surveillance state, right? Freedom is slavery, right? So they make you slaves to pay these taxes, right? And they tell you have freedom, right? It's the same. This guy was coining terms in here that when you think about them in today's day and age, you're thinking, wow, I think we're here. We're past 1984. We're living in this shit, and we don't realize it. It was almost like this guy warned us of where we were headed.
Yeah.
And now we're in it, right? The other one was ignorance is strength. Well, it's strength for the government because they keep you dumb, right?
Yeah.
There was another one. Language used designed to limit thought. I mean, the propaganda is so deep that they use certain language to keep you from thought, right? And you're thinking, wow, that's got to be, I believe that to be true today. They will distract you with so many different things to keep you from thinking, they don't want free thinkers, right?
Well, one thing I was thinking about too, Dad, is I was watching this commercial the other day, and it was a fucking couple, and they're walking down, and they're smiling, and maybe they walk into JCPenney's, and everyone's smiling, and they're paid actors to put on this propaganda to make it seem like they had a good time shopping at JCPenney's, right? But you look at all these commercials, there's always a person acting on a feeling or an emotion about whatever they're selling. And I've been watching these commercials my whole life because I've had a TV, right? And it's programmed the average person into thinking, oh, when you go shopping, it's like all these commercials on how people feel when they're shopping. That's how you think it is when you go shopping. That's how it is when you feel this way or whatever it is. And like just by the commercials, it's programmed to think that's how normal people live. And it's totally fake bullshit. But it's like, I just kind of caught myself the other day. I'm like, oh, well, like even just the commercials have kind of like subconsciously programmed me to think a certain way about things, you know?
Yeah. Indoctrination, you know, through propaganda is so, it's like an MK Ultra thing. They feed you this so much through the TV that you don't think nothing about it. It's just so much of it, though, right?
Yeah.
Here's another get skinny pill, you know, Ozempic, shit like that, right?
And back in the day, there was depression pills or Prozac.
Prozac. Take Prozac. It's the best thing for you, but the long-term effects they haven't really figured out, and they're using people for guinea pigs on it, right?
And I was born into this shit. I just grew up. I had a TV when I was a kid, you know? Back in the day, back in 1950, you didn't have that. So you didn't have that mass propaganda. There's propaganda, but it was like in your face. Today, kids have iPads now. It's really in their face, you know? And they're going to grow up and not think nothing of it, you know? And that's kind of crazy.
So that's how many kids you think you know, Cole? What was the last book you actually bought and read, or at least opened up and attempted to read?
I bought a Gary Vaynerchuk book. It was I don't know if you ever heard of Gary V. This guy's badass, big in the social media world. He's a hustler. If you don't know about this guy, he's cool. A lot of people my age, he's really popular, so I won't go deep on Gary. But he's a book on social media, ways to hustle and grind it out, how to make I think I have it around here somewhere. I forget the name of it. I bought two of them. Is it right here? Oh, yeah, right
It's like
here.
So it's a self-help.
Gary V.
Self-help.
Crushing it. I got it right here. How great entrepreneurs build their business and influence, and how you can too. So I opened it up. I tried reading it. I never really got around to really getting all the way through, but I try to read. I'd like to read. It's just there's so many other distractions and things. I have a hard time sitting down and opening the book. But I try to. I know. But last time I read a full book, last time I read 5 chapters, it's been quite a while.
Yeah. So that's my point to you, right? Is digital media has taken over the paper books that, you know, this guy died in 1950 and this book came out. 1950. He wrote it after World War II, and the dude died at 46 years old of tuberculosis. But this dude was calling balls and strikes in 48, 49, 50.
Yeah.
He was laying this out then. And now we're here, right? And I mean, well past 84. I don't know how many years that is.
50 to 26. That's 76 years.
76 years later, and this dude didn't even give us that much time. He was warning us in 1984 that this is what we're walking into. So my point, Cole, to you is these flock cameras, this mass surveillance, face recognition, all this data center shit. This is where we're heading. They said we are guaranteed to walk into a digital prison and welcome it. We're not even going to know because we're going to be so fucking brainwashed by YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, all this shit that is just constantly fed through the TVs, through the screens, because people don't pick up books. People get their information different now. I know times have changed, but I think it's really important that we talk how it used to be and where we're at now, right? Because it's light years away from each other, and it's not gotten better. It's not for the better.
Yeah.
We have, they said when we got the internet, we're all going to be, information's going to be given freely, and everybody thought, oh, this will be great. I'll be able to, do whatever I want or ask whatever I want or, on the computer. Well, it didn't really turn out that way, right? Everybody cut it up, ran and bought a username or whatever it is, a window with that name on it, and started a business and tried to make millions off it. And you had to have paid subscriptions. The internet wasn't free. They turned it into a giant money machine, right? And so now we're coming into AI. And AI is, you could pay for a service like X, I think, charges me a fee for Grok. But, Google's free, right? You can go on AI chat, whatever.
They have free options if you want to like really use it and like get more out of it. Like it's limited. So if you like keep asking it questions all day, at some point, like, hey, you're out of Super Grok Pro. You got to pay to get better answers and shit. Like it'll do detailed research if you paid for it. If you don't pay for it, it's going to give you some not as good of answers.
I think I've heard this. Yeah. It's I have seen the different tiers on the
or like if you wanted to make you a picture or an image or something, if you don't pay for it, it gives you like shitty options. If you pay for it, it gives you like a lot better quality.
Oh, okay. So yeah, anything more time consuming costs more, like everything else, right?
Yeah, give you the limited options. Basically, you want to pay for the shit.
So I guess tonight I was just trying to go back into history, and I did this by accident. I heard Tucker talk about 1984. He referenced it to somebody that was talking about this shit, and he goes Orwellian. I think they called it Orwellian, and that was more like his catchphrase. Like you've heard of Big Brother, right?
Yeah, or it sounds like what did the other guy? Who was the guy that like ran Europe? In World War II, what was the guy? I think he was the leader of France. I think he had one too, Dad. What was his name? Wasn't Stalin? It was who was it?
Stalin, Mussolini?
No, it was the other guy. I think it was France or something. England, Britain. I think it was Britain. The guy in Britain.
Oh, anyway.
Whatever, but I think they had a name for him. Like it was like you said,
yeah,
Oswaldian or whatever. It was like they made a what was that called? Totalitarianism? Is that like not a form of what'd you just?
It's a form of government it's like an ideology.
Ideology, yes, ideology.
Right. So it's like somebody comes up with this, like they have a lot of that in organized religion today. They'll chop up, a Christian or any religion, right? It doesn't even have to be Christian. They can just chop it up, and it gets radicalized, right? It's not even radicalized. It can just be their own version of it. And if they get enough people convinced, it's almost cultish, right? It just takes a good speaker to manipulate a handful of people, and they bring other people in, Look at this fucking, what is that, Scientology shit,
Yeah, yes, exactly.
L. Ron Hubbard, this guy was
shit's weird, dude. That shit's a trip, dude. I've watched videos on YouTube, and it's pretty shocking shit.
This day and age, and that's such a. But look at Mormonism. That started out of kind of sticking together out in the desert, to survive.
They had with that Scientology, Dad. I don't mean to cut you off, but have you seen? There's this guy on there. He goes down there. He's a journalist, and he goes down there and reports and makes a YouTube video about it. And they got these little housing projects, and it's like little apartments, and it's gated off, and they got security all around, and like they don't let you can't. It's real like quiet, hush hush. If this dude went in there with a camera and they started chasing him out with security and shit, and he's trying to interview these people that are involved in the Scientology, and it's like they got to devote like 18 hours of their day to just do janitorial work for the bigger picture of Scientology, and it's like it's about this dude that like lived like these like aliens came in on this other planet, and it's like thousands of years, and it's like a whole load of bullshit, and it's just based off of this book that this dude wrote back in the day, and their whole religion and life's based off of this book that's like super science fiction. It's pretty insane.
It's really strange to think that that Leah Remini, she played on The King of Queens. That she's an annoying bitch. She was on Howard, and she was in it forever since she was a kid. She said her mom and her sisters They grew up in New York or New Jersey or some shit, and they didn't have no place to go. Well, they ended up getting looped into this shit. But they used to have the sinners. They had them in San Francisco. They had them all over, and they would have people out on the streets offering flyers. Hey, do you want to come in and watch this movie? And they said a lot of people were getting harassed. They couldn't leave. They were like trying to, it was a heavy brainwash deal, and it was really scary shit. And I mean, there's been thousands of interviews that people were approached down in LA. Go ahead,
dude. And I think it's in Miami or in Florida. They have so much real estate. They've bought like half the town. The whole downtown is all owned by Scientology, and a lot of them are just closed up. They've bought like each house, and there's like, dude, half the downtown, like half the people are like, hey, we had to move out because the Scientology is so bad. Like they totally came in and took over everything. In a small part.
Yeah, I think they said Utah has the most. The most money than any state or something. Like the Mormons have an organized religion that they believe in, and they are very wealthy from it. I mean, they own a lot of real estate too. And but did you know Bert Kreischer's dad was a lawyer for the Scientologists?
I didn't know that. No, does he talk about that? Is he pretty open about that?
Yeah, he said when he was a kid, his dad was a lawyer, and he went against the Scientology church for something, and Bert's dad beat him in court, and when they walked out, they offered him a job. They said, if you can beat my lawyers, we want to hire you. So he ended up working for them.
That's good. I guess as a lawyer, it's like, hey, I'm just here, probably paid him really well,
He said they did good, but I thought you had to be a member to be a lawyer, for that team, right? I just assumed, but that wasn't the case. But he's briefly said it a couple of times, and I thought, wow, but they lived in Florida, Cole. That's and then they had that weird fucking they got that weird boat out there. I forget what it's called. It's called something. I have to look it up, but the sea monkeys or whatever the fuck it is. They send these kids out there and they make them do all this work. They don't go to school. They put them to work, clean these hotels and all this shit. It's slave labor. And,
and they don't pay them shit. And it's like, they put the big church thing above your head. Hey, this is for, to make sure that you're going to be okay in the afterlife. And it's like,
well, that Leah Remini, she did an interview on Howard, and she was a real bitch on there or whatever. I didn't really care for her, but she came out with that book, and it was at the dollar store, and I picked it up, and I thought, well, shit, this has got to be interesting. She was in it all her life, so I read that book, and I kind of learned it was about her, but it was also about the. She came out even after that, after her book. Her book kind of flopped, but. She came out on a TV show exposing Scientology, and the people wouldn't talk to her, and they shun you. A lot of these organized religions. Did you know that they shun you, Cole? You know what that is?
Yeah, basically like shunned from the family, like you're disowned almost.
Like if you stepped out, like if we were in Mormonism and you stepped out and you said, I want to go
have a coffee
away from. No, I want to go, live outside the religion. I wouldn't be allowed. You wouldn't be allowed to come to our home anymore or talk to your mother. They shun you completely, and all your friends and everybody. But that's not the only religion that does it. I learned that the Amish do it too, and obviously Scientology. But that just doesn't seem like the Christian values that I grew up with. You know what I mean? It's that's the one turning point for me. If you're going to shun somebody, in a religion like that, that's a deal breaker for me. I don't get that. You know what I mean? You're not fully devoted. Go ahead.
I watched a video on YouTube, and these guys, like these party dudes or YouTubers, and they went to this Amish town, and they're like, hey, dude, they went and picked up some like Amish kid, like a young kid, like I think like a college dude, but he's like a young Amish dude, and they brought him and showed him all the cool things you could do in the society, I guess, that's not on the farm.
Right.
And it was a kind of a funny gimmick thing, I guess. But I think the guy said that they let you, if you want to go, like you get a chance, like you get a decision, like, hey, if you want to go out there and explore and see it, you get the opportunity to go leave and see it, and then you have to come back and make a decision or something. It seemed like it wasn't as strict as maybe as it used to be.
I've heard that, but I watched this documentary on YouTube where this guy, I forget what it was. He did something outside the religion, and they started talking. Well, he had this big Amish market, and he had hell of employees, and it was like people spy on you in the religion. They spy on you, and then they'll go tell the head pastor or whatever they call him. I don't know, whoever the leader of the group is. They go and they tell them, and then they question you, and they can kind of just judge, jury, execution that you're guilty, and they'll push you out. And this dude's whole life was built around this market that he was really doing good. He had a lot of employees. They were all Amish. And, he was fucking pissed. The people that worked for him were his dear friends, and they had to turn their back on him, and they didn't want to, and they told him they didn't want to. It's just like, that seems like such a bitter pill or a shitty way to, how could you do that to somebody that you call a friend or a loved one? That don't ring true to me.
Because you went against the grain, we now have to shun you, and his family and friends don't want to do it. But hey, that's what the rule says over here. So if we don't do this, then we're gonna get shunned as well. So we haven't really got a choice here.
Can't buy the meat at the auction no more. You can't, you can't invest, through the church anymore. To help you, with the farming, all that shit.
Where in Christianity, it's forgiveness. Hey, right. Forgive with the heart, or along those lines. It seems like something that having. Hey, you have a chance to get a second chance or redeem yourself, through forgiveness. And
well, they go into it knowing they're flawed, right? Because that's what the Bible says, that we're flawed people, and we will sin and we will fuck up, right? So if you can avoid that, then that's my understanding of it. It's probably it's a lot more detailed than that, but at the same point is. The shunning shit, I just don't buy, man. Fuck that. That's I'm not that always rings true. That throws up the red flags everywhere for me, right? No religion, but that's what they believe, and I'm not against it. If you're raised that way, you're not going to know any difference.
Yeah.
But they showed this dude and his wife after they got shunned. He's like, fuck it, I'm buying a fucking gas tractor, a mower. And he just fucking started doing everybody's work. He started doing a hell of work for people. It's like, and they said certain colonies of the Amish, they will allow drinking, like drinking beer or whatever. Some don't. Some allow this, some don't. So it's like really strange to think that there's different colonies of them in the United States that do things different. Some go to church, 3 times a week. Some only do once. Things like that. It's just kind of it's ignorance on my part, because I didn't do no. It was an interesting documentary to see. And
what was the name of that again, Dad?
Well, I couldn't tell you. Cool, I watched it a long time ago, but I'm sure you could drum that shit up on
One
YouTube.
One thing I wanted to touch on with totalitarianism. Now going back like deep into history, I'm thinking of someone like Genghis Khan, right?
Right.
Do you think that's been like the nature of the human, is to have power and control? I know everyone throws around power and control and things like that, but you go back in history, you see things repeat itself. The Roman Empire, Genghis Khan. It seems like, if you went against the church back in the Roman Empire, that wasn't allowed. You'd get shunned and they'd stone you in front of the crowd. And it seems like that's kind of a common thing throughout human history. I'm just wondering if that's like now we're living in that time of like we have rights. We got away from the British to get our independence, but now it seems like we're trying to get away from our government to get our own independence back, But it seems like that's kind of a constant thing throughout history. I'm just wondering what's the difference in, was Genghis Khan a totalitarian leader, Was the Roman Empire a totalitarian,
Yeah, he was, it was, well, you go back that far, they weren't that civilized, so it was just dominate and control. He always gave the option, you can join us or we'll take you by force. He always gave the option. You can surrender and be a part of us, or we're going to overtake you. And, the people that didn't want to be part of it, they would try and fight this dude and he would just run through them. There were so many of them. They were great warriors, it was like, they said that his tactics are used today. And, he was like a lot of these war maneuvers they do, maybe not so much today because it's all digital with drones and shit, but they said in, earlier warfare, they used a lot of his, he was just next level at a year where, the shit was unheard of, taking on China, going through desert to take on the Middle East. The shit was unheard of. And but yeah, that's really an interesting topic to get into, would be him. But yeah, so I was just thinking about that, Cole. I was just trying to maybe bring up something that was going on, in the old days. There was wise people out there that's, I don't want to say seeing the future, but seeing where the country was going and seeing what people were up to. I mean, the propaganda back then was so minimal compared to what we see today. It's almost like today's media, they've taken control of it so much that you can't believe nothing. I mean, you can't believe half the shit, even on these social media sites. They put news up there. There's stupid people up there putting up shit from 2022,
Yeah.
And if you don't know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh shit, what happened here? You start reading it, you look at it and somebody, writes in the comments, this was in 2022, or, at least Grok will put, this is overfabricated, this is a repost from 2022. They'll alert you, but
right.
It's like after you've already read it and believed it, you're halfway there, and then, a day later it pops up on your feed saying that it's, not propaganda, but just pretty much propaganda bullshit, right?
Yeah, well, I was watching, I seen this clip come up, and it was this chick, and she was on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan was asking her a question, and she had the link to buy her book and the thing, and she was talking about it. It was all fake. It wasn't even a thing, but they had the red curtain in the background. They had AI's voice use Joe Rogan.
Oh, wow.
It was just a picture of her face in the red curtain, and Joe asked her a question, and it wasn't him. Yeah. She was never on the thing, and I was just like, whoa! Like I was like, what interview is this? I'm like, this seems kind of interesting, and it's not even a thing. It's just a selling point. And it's like, dude, they could do that with a lot of shit, And you got to think, if the government has access to better technology, how much can they really, put out there that looks really legit? I don't know. Something to think about.
It's bullshit. That's copyright infringement, but they do it all day long. They said, I think Sean Ryan said that he doesn't pursue people who cut up his clips and use them. He said he doesn't really give a shit about it, but he's pretty big, but Joe Rogan's pretty big too. I think Joe might, I don't know if he fights that or not. I'm not really sure if it's worth his time.
I think there's too much. They got guys. I don't think guys really care about it, Dad. And you might be able to go and copyright someone for it, but at the end of the day, it's publicity. Like, yeah, you might not, if you post a short or a reel or a video that's a minute long.
But that's disinformation, and what's funny about YouTube is they won't put up certain, they'll take certain people down because of their thoughts, like that Owen Benjamin. I don't know if you know this dude, but he's another dude that's really super canceled. He wasn't going in. He's got huge Christian values. A funny guy, stand-up comedian. He was kind of an actor in Hollywood. This dude was doing really well, and he was coming up fast, and he was doing good. But when that woke bullshit came out in cancel culture, they were canceling everybody for saying, 10 years ago, this guy said the N-word, right? And then, get him out of here. Oh, he's off, loses contract. I mean, they were doing that left and right. It was so crazy, right? It was just character assassination everywhere. And they were not discriminating. They were just going, they tried to get Joe Rogan. They tried to get Joey Diaz. They got this dude. They nailed this dude for some shit. Well, he did it himself, really. He goes on there and says, hey, wait a minute, these 7-year-olds aren't going to make up their mind to have a fucking sex change. I ain't fucking doing that. Fuck this. And he kept at it. He kept at it. I mean, he was not, and he lived in Hollywood, in LA, in the circle with all those creepy actors and actresses, and he was basically saying, fuck you. I'm not going to change my fucking opinion. I don't care if you hire me or not. He was already smoking. He was building steam, right? Boom. They took him off X. They took him off YouTube, canceled his contract. This guy ends up moving to Idaho and starting a family and building a farm, growing his own food. But he's on. Since Elon bought X, they put him back on there, and he is fucking back with a vengeance. I mean, he does not give a fuck. And but it's a breath of fresh air because it's like total freedom of speech, right? And he says some outlandish shit, but there's meaning behind it. I seen a clip the other day. And he dropped the N-bomb, right, with the hard R, and I was like, fuck, dude, where'd this go? It was really shocking. And then he followed it up and he goes, people get so worked up over this word, but they don't care about the girl that lives in Los Angeles that's had 3 abortions. That seems to be okay, right? And it's just like, oh, okay, well, he kind of puts it in a context to where, as a Christian value nation, we don't seem to mind if these young girls are misled into, multiple abortions. No one's saying shit about that. They're saying, oh, my body, my choice, and all that. It's just so much convoluted bullshit where they're going to make a huge deal and cancel somebody and ruin their life over a word, right?
Right.
And he's explained that if there's no context between using that word, if you're not using it in that way, then there's no reason why it should be such a big deal, right? He just kind of explains the freedom of speech. He makes his point. It is a little it's fucking outlandish shit, but it's shocking, but he's smart and it's good to hear, because it's just like, okay, maybe a bad example but a good point, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure he could have used a different word, but it was just really good to see somebody not get sold down the river, get depressed, get on drugs, fucking
because they blacklisted him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude came back and he's a fucking Mike Tyson now, and he's just fucking clobbering people.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, he's calling out everybody. He calls out all these people, and a lot of them are Hollywood actors. And I think Rogan took he was on Rogan twice, and he took all of his interviews down.
Really? Wow. Mm-hmm. That's kind of bullshit, but I don't know. I guess when Rogan's got money tied up in his shit, he just can't. Hey, sorry, dude.
He ate the stars of death on the Church of What's Happening.
Oh, did he?
And he went down hard. He had to leave.
He says Owen Benjamin?
Yes.
He was an actor?
Yes, and he has a book out. I have his book. This is the other book I bought. It's called How to Slay a Wizard.
Okay.
And so,
what movies this guy was in? This guy was in All Fares in Love, Hand Job Cabin, Sullivan and Son, Gay Town, The House Bunny. The House Bunny is the only one good he's been in.
I haven't heard.
You never seen The House Bunny? The House Bunny's funny as fuck. It's like it's that one actress. What's the actress? This chick's the best. Main cast, Anna Faris. You know Anna Faris?
No, I don't. But the point I'm trying to make to you, Cole, is that this guy, he was maybe he was like a B-list actor. I don't know. He wasn't like huge pop, but he was like on the break of getting the next big role, right?
Right.
And they dusted him out or whatever. Well, this guy's come back, and he's all about pointing out the hypocrisy that all these people have, and they're too afraid to be themselves and speak their mind because they have a mortgage, they have a contract, and if that gets taken away, the whole life goes down the shitter, right? It's all fear-based, right? And he goes into why it's fear-based, and he explains to people why it's fear-based and how the balls of justice keep rolling forward. It's just like, hey, you can't stop this train because you're in too deep, so people are silenced. So that's what, when they say ignorance is strength, it's because the government likes it this way, right? If they got you locked in, they're going to censor you, and if they censor you, then you can't really be a free thinker or speak your mind, right?
Yeah.
And, it just seems like that's
what a shitty thing. What a shitty fucking thing. You feel like you can't speak your mind. I feel like at the end of the day, we're all human beings. You should be able to express yourself. I think that's what God wanted us to do, is express ourselves through art, music. I think that's where you get a lot of stuff now.
It's like Tucker said, that's a God-given right that you're born with. It's not something they can take from you. And to get total system control, they're trying to take all these things from us a little bit at each time, right? Like California, they banned the Glock gun for whatever fucking stupid reason that dickhead came up with. They decided Glock was a good handgun that, was reliable, and,
those the switches on the back. Have you heard about those? The switches?
Oh, yeah.
It fucking turns them fully auto, and everyone fucking, a lot of gang members had them, and gang violence and crime had them.
So So it became, a safety issue, right? It's always a safety issue. It's never about the fucking dickhead that's got the gun doing the crime, But, they take this gun, they take that gun, they take a bump stock, they take an AR, they take a...
Yeah, the ARs are so dumb, you can't get a magazine for them anymore, dude. You got to cut them in half, load them from the top, or they got ones now, Joe said, you got to load it one by one. But once you're out of bullets, you got to load it one by one like a shotgun or something. It's like, how stupid.
They make it's a constant battle to slowly drain you of your freedoms, and I remember when I was a kid, I went with my dad. There was this gun store down in San Leandro, and it was called Traders, and it would be like the Sportsman Warehouse back in the day, right?
Okay, right.
And they had hella guns. I mean, it was wall-to-wall guns in there, and my dad had bought this gun, and he told me, he goes, "Hey, you want to go with me?" He goes, I'm going to pick up my new gun or whatever. And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." So I went down there and I was a kid. I was probably 15, 14, maybe. I can't remember, but I was a teenager. And we get down there and he picked it up and I was looking and I was thinking, wow, that's a weird looking gun. I couldn't tell if it was mini machine gun or like a pistol. And I asked my dad, I go, "Geez, how do you hold that thing? What do you do with that?" He goes, "You point this fucker and spray it." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." And he goes, he told the guy, I want 2 of these clips. And they were the big clips, right? They were 30 round clips. Well, I thought, I go, what the fuck? I just didn't understand it. I was just like, what, why, what do you need that? It's a compact machine gun, really,
Right.
And he goes, because they're banning them. He goes, pretty soon you'll see. He goes, they take this. He goes, then they're going to take something next. This was years ago, and that's exactly what they've done. They've just pecked away at each gun, because of a mass shooting, because of some tragedy. They just keep cutting away your freedoms, and you see it with the censorship. You see it with the, this Face ID fucking license plate reader that we didn't have a discussion about, vote about. There's no laws on it. It's insanity, and they
that's
just
the
keep
biggest thing for
pushing
me
it
with the
forward.
block cameras. It seems like it just came up and now it's a fucking big thing. Just seems like, hey, should we at least be able to vote on this in our city council?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
When you got Congress not even voting for a license ID to vote, it's just like, they scanned my license for a can of chew,
Yeah.
I won't go to the stores that do that. I stopped going to them. I'm just like, I'm not doing this shit. This is fucking creepy data mining bullshit. I don't, pay with cash, but you're seeing that cash is becoming less and less use, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying cash. Yeah, how much do you pay with cash? You don't, right? It's because it's going to be a digital prison that we live in, and they're going to have your face recognition. That's going to be your ID for everything. They're going to have your bank account, everything. Who you talk to on your phone, what you do on social media, what you like. It's probably not going to happen tonight. They say it's like slowly peeling back an onion.
No, they're just going to keep pecking away down the line, just like they did it with the guns, and then next thing you know, in 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, 30 years, it'll just be a whole new thing, and they just do it slowly.
So that's my point.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. This kind of wraps it all together, right? That this dude in 1950 had enough sense to start telling us about this shit then, which I didn't know. I never heard of the book till just this week. I started looking into it and stuff and reading. I thought, well, this is interesting to talk about. Somebody had their finger on the pulse back then, and it seems like we're actually living in that shit today,
I think it was a great topic. I think it was a great. Thanks for sharing that, because I'm actually pretty interested to go read the book, and gave me some knowledge on totalitarianism. I never knew about it, so I hope you guys learn something too. Maybe do your own research, because pretty interesting stuff.
or if you know something we didn't cover, put it in the comments. You know, we don't give a shit either way. But
it'd be cool if we could get like a historian on here, someone that's like a totalitarian dude that's like could like drop some real game. And
Jordan Peterson is he's the dude, man. He's definitely the dude. He's all.
We might not be able to book dude though. You know, we might have to get like a local guy that wants to talk about it.
He talks about, I mean, he will really get into, you know, he'll start at the Bible and come all the way out from it, you know, and explain it.
That's badass.
Explain it where you can actually, you know, understand it. But I have seen him on YouTube, so I think his health is getting better. And his daughter did post a picture. She's ready to have I think she said she was 39 weeks pregnant. So
that's the shitty thing, Dad. It's like, you know, like we're just two working dudes, you know, talking about this shit. You know, if we bring on a guest, it'd be cool because then we could have them talk about it and ask them questions and get some legit answers, you know. And
sure.
Someone that's better spoken about a certain topic or whatever it could be, you know, better for the viewers. You know, it's not us. I think this was this, or oh yeah, that was that. You know, it's someone that's got the legit knowledge and the real spiel.
Yeah, well, two heads are better than one, especially yours. You know, three heads are better than two. It just moves on, right? You got a better perspective. You get different ideas. You know, it's definitely interesting to always hear. You know, I'm always curious to see what someone else's perspective is. Argue it, agree with it, whatever you want to do. You know, it makes for a great conversation, and I enjoy it. So. What else you got, Cole? I think that's about all I got.
That's it. We're at the hour mark right now, Jam. So if you want, we got 5 minutes to wrap up sponsors and feedback or whatever we want to talk about for the next 5 minutes, dude. Let's fucking do it.
Yeah, we got Noni's Pickles on Instagram. You guys look him up. He's at the Brentwood Farmers Market. Local dude. Great pickles. Great pickled pineapple. Awesome. Pineapple is awesome. The pickle's great. And that's the only one I got. So if you want to check him out at Noni's Pickles, usually you catch him at Brentwood's Farmers Market. So
I'm gonna give a shout out to J to B. I think the YouTube channel's Follow J to B. J to B, I love the comment, dude. It made me laugh in the morning at work, dude. If you're watching this, I want to say thanks for the support, dude. I wrote in the comment, it was great to hear from you. J to B was a OG viewer from back when we started West Coast. He makes music. Go check out his music. He's got a couple songs and music videos up there. I was listening to him. Cool stuff. And I want to say shout out. Go check him out if you're looking for a new artist to listen to. And that's about it. That's about all I got. If you're looking for a haircut, I got a buddy. This guy's working 4 jobs. Just bought a house. He's hustling hard. Gino, I know you listen to it. Gino's a big fan. He listens to it every week, but he cuts hair on the sides, $20. He's going to get you a taper, a bald fade, a mid fade, whatever you want done. So if you're in the East Bay area and you're looking for a haircut, drop your phone number, drop your Instagram down below, and Gino will hit you up and get you right for a cheap haircut. And these barbers nowadays, they charge $50 or $70 for a haircut, and they expect a $30 tip. You know, it's $100 for a weekly haircut, and it's insane. So Gino's doing it on the side. You go have a beer with a guy and chop some game.
$20 haircut and a free hat.
Yeah, so I wanted to, you know, and that's all I got. We appreciate you guys' support. I think this is our 4th week. So me and my dad's goal was, hey, dude, let's start with the podcast every Saturday. Let's just get 4 weeks done. And it's went by so fast. We can't believe it's already episode 4. And all the love and support from everyone. Just know we'll be out here dropping episodes every Sunday. But it's pretty crazy, Dad. We're already on episode 4. And our goal is to get a year now, I guess, from here. I guess, Dad, I know we're going to try to get some gear, some merch, get some West Coast Unplugged t-shirts, some hats. If you guys know anyone that makes a badass logo, dude, someone make us a cool logo if you're watching this, and we'll pay you money for the logo. We just can't seem to get one going. We're trying to make up a logo, and then we can put them on hats. We want to get hats, mugs, stickers for you guys and for us, so... But we wanted to get 4 weeks down first to make sure we're taking this serious. So I think they say it takes 28 days to make a habit or something. So those are things we got in motion over here. We're going to get Jambo a nice boom mic. So Duke can get a nice boom mic. We're going to have a nice headset. And so we got some things in motion, but we're just happy we got 4 weeks in.
Gratitude, man. You got to have it.
Yeah.
You know, I love it, Cole, and I enjoy this. So thanks for everybody that takes the time to listen to us. I don't find myself that amusing, but maybe other people do. So I'm super grateful for the people that do listen and spend some time with my son on a Saturday night. So that's what I got.
Before we close off, dude, we got Argentina and Spain, dude. World Cup. Are you watching?
They said Argentina is owned by Israel. They said it's a wrap.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. There's that's what I was thinking. I don't know, but I guess a lot of people are upset because I guess the Argentinian fans are assholes. I don't know nothing about it. That's what I was just hearing on social media, though, so I don't know, but
yeah,
everyone's like, these guys are scumbags, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we're going to find out tomorrow at 12 o'clock. We'll know, but they said that these guys are under indictment. Argentina's under indictment, but you go back to that propaganda. Who do you believe with this bullshit? Who's going to give you the honest answer, you know?
Yeah.
That president of FIFA, it's a rigged game probably, man. They got so much money riding on this, and he was at the White House the other day, you know, jerking around doing some bullshit. And, you know, it's no different than the NFL, the NBA. The NBA is owned by fucking China. And, you know, that's just the way it is. So, you know, if you want to just keep looking into it and doing research, you'll find out, you know, who really runs these things and how much control they have. And, you know, you follow the money and you find the crook usually, you know, or you find the fraud, one or the other. But
Polymarket, I think they have Polymarket. It might have been Polymarket or Kalshi, like a banners and shit, dude, on the fucking field, on the World Cup field.
For sure, yeah. So, but you know, not to be a doomsday podcast, you know, it's all in good fun and it's American sport, and I still support American sports, you know, even though, you know, there's probably some, you know, fuckery behind the scenes, nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and we'll get you guys out on this one, dude. We wanted to kind of get something going, maybe a little slogan or something. I don't know. But, you know, if you got Sunday off and you ain't got nothing going on, give your dad a call, tell him hello, you know, and send the podcast over to your dad, you know. Maybe that might help you guys bridge your relationship, you know. We love doing it. We love having a nice communication and skills or whatever the fuck. Send it to your dad. Send it to your son if you enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bam. Out.